beautiful day here in LA. Feeling spring making its entrance. A few days. Just want to welcome you on to this sunshiny day from wherever you are in the world. Whatever weather you're experiencing, maybe you can vicariously live through this live a little bit if you're interested in some sunshine and warmth. I don't even need my hat on. I'm really hot now. It's probably colder in my house than it is outdoors. Anyhow, so I wanted to jump on and talk about relationships because my whole life I've been fascinated by relationships, and I've known for a long time that that's part of my work in the world, is to support people in their relationships and to also how do I love better in my relationships. So there's ways to look at this in our family dynamics, and what I have to say today certainly applies, but this is more specific to romantic relationships. So this is for those of you tuning in who are in long-term relationships, and whether you're dating or you're married, there's some, whatever your commitment looks like, but you're at a point where you might be noticing that you and your partner are feeling disconnected. You're not having very deep conversations, and it's been more than a couple weeks, probably some months or years, where you're feeling like you're just not having really deep, meaningful conversations. Hello, Renner. Or you're so your intimacy, you would say, is just not that deep, right? You're just kind of like feeling like your conversations are surface level, or things that are important to you. You're just not talking about the things that are important to you in your relationship right now. Or your sex life isn't very spicy, right? Like there's like, it's feeling kind of like meh, just not a lot of passion, right? Like there might be some pleasure and some connection, but it's like not super hot, or there's not a lot of like hot desire or passion. And so what I want you to know is that there is this thing called the ecology of relationships, and long-term relationships specifically, and monogamy specifically as well. So this is not for my polyamorous friends particularly. That's not my realm of expertise. So this is more about long-term monogamous relationships. And the ecology of them is that they're designed for two things. Most of us think of relationship, and I think is romanticized this way, that long-term relationship, romantic relationship, is a refuge. Like our partner should be a place of feeling safe and comfortable and cozy and feel good and yummy. And I think we all expect some conflict, but we expect it to be easier. Like the conflict should be like, we should kind of like, if we argue over something, we should be able to settle it pretty fast, and or compromise is talked about a lot, or communication strategies are talked about a lot, and these are often not that helpful. Compromise often leads to resentment because it's not really honest, because you're compromising actually something that has to do with your own integrity, but then you resent your partner for it, even though you were the one who's actually compromising yourself. There's a difference between being generous in partnership from a place of sovereignty, because you actually know how to not be resentful about wherever you might be actually compromising isn't quite the right word, but it, you could use it, but in this sense I'm using it in it's compromise or generosity from a place where you genuinely feel like it's not taking something from you, or it's not it doesn't feel like it's compromising who you are, right? But that takes knowing who you are, and so that's where this all leads to. And that's why if you're experiencing disconnection or lack of passion in your relationship, it's perfect, because this has to do with the ecology of marriage, which is, it's not just a refuge. Like, yes, it's for creating secure attachment and comfort and safety for sure, but this often leads to codependence, actually. Like, partners start to like depend on their significant other to make them feel okay. I've witnessed this in my own marriage, and then I was like, oh, something's wrong with our marriage, and then what I've learned since then, for the past couple of years in creating interdependence with my husband, is interdependence requires that you realize that relationships are also built, the ecology of relationships is that they're not only built for refuge, they're built for growth, right? And that might seem obvious, but we might like the idea of growth, but when it actually comes to shove and it's time to grow, we don't actually want to do it. We want to stay comfortable and we want to stay safe and feel good, and my partner should just help me feel good. But relationship it's paradoxical because it's simultaneously a place for secure attachment and feeling good and safe and comfortable and yummy and loving and unconditionally loving your partner, accepting them for who they are, accepting your partner for who they're not, which a lot of people are not willing to do. They keep trying to make their partner be someone they're not. But this ultimately, when your attention's there, you're not, more than likely, there's a place where you are not fully in acceptance of your own self, which makes it hard to be full acceptance of someone else. You're not in acceptance of who you are and who you're not. And trying to force yourself to be someone you're not ready to be, like that you might want to be, but you don't know how to be. So this gets into the crucible of marriage. So this is where you get to start to connect to who do you want to be, actually, as a spouse, but as who you are, like as a person in the world. What kind of contribution to the world do you want to make? And then this gets more complex, right? Because as you discover who you want to be, this might bump up against who your partner wants to be. But that's the function of relationship. Some people say that, it certainly is easiest to find a partner who has the same worldviews as you and thinks like you and wants all the same things. And I think that for sure that's easier. And I also think that also you don't get all the yummy adversity of being with someone who has differing values to you, right? So I feel like I'm just rambling, but what I want to, like, for those who are tuning in, even if you're just watching the replay, it's like, are you connected to the ecology of long-term relationship? Are you connected to that? It is a crucible of personal transformation, that it is a place to actually grow and change. Like if you're the same person when you married that you are, or, when you started your relationship that you are 5 years later, you're likely, part of you is dying or dead, right? Because when you don't grow, you die. And if you have the tendency to always be championing your partner into their growth and never really accepting him or them for where they are in their life in that moment, like accepting that they are already whole and complete and perfect, then that also can make people feel like they're never enough. And then you can turn that in on yourself and look where you feel like you're never enough, right? Where you can't accept yourself where you are and where you're not. So it's a paradox, right? It's a paradox to love unconditionally and accept someone for who they are and who they're not, and then also champion them into becoming more of who they are. It's not changing them to become someone they're not. That's what it looks like to the ego, but it's actually championing someone to be more of who they are, which feels like there's a level of who you are isn't enough, but that's not what it's saying. It's like being, self-transcendence or developing our own agency is triumphing beyond the typical limiting mechanisms of our ego. And our ego is so sweet because it just wants to keep us safe, but that won't let us grow, right? So looking at where the beliefs that you hold about yourself, about the way you see the world, the way you see your partner, are you willing to relax your grip on some of what you hold to be true and absolute, and actually look for what actually could arise. What's the potential that could arise in you? What's the potential that could arise in your partner? And then what is the potential that could arise in your marriage or your relationship that you're not allowing to arise by being convinced that there's something wrong with you or your partner or with the relationship, right? So if you are feeling disconnection, just know that that's normal, that should be happening in a relationship, and lack of passion. That's a sign that you're ready to grow, that you're really ready to step into the crucible of your marriage, and that maybe you've been in the safe refuge of your marriage for a little too long, and some codependence has been growing. Maybe you're aware of it, maybe you're not. But for those who are tuning in, this is really for people who are already believe they're on the, on the self-development path. You already read books, go attend workshops, tune into personal development as a path of transformation. You're probably spiritually oriented, connected to nature and spirit and in various ways. And so if you're one of those people, then you might be worried if your partner isn't as spiritually inclined or growth oriented, at least in the way you are. So you might be like, oh no, like there's something wrong because they don't think like me. They don't read the books like I do. They don't want to go to the workshop with me. But the other thing I want you to know about the ecology of marriage, aside from it being a safe refuge and a transformational crucible, is that it only takes one person to cause transformation and to actually transform the marriage itself. Once you start relating to yourself differently, you'll start relating to your partner differently, and therefore the relationship, the dynamic between the two of you shifts it's just like physics, right? So if you think you need your partner to be on board for your relationship to transform, that's not true. At some point, they will need to reckon with the shifting nature of the marriage, right? And if that's the reason why you are compromising your integrity and who you are, that just points to your own insecurity and not wanting to lose your partner, which we all have that, nobody wants to lose someone they love, but you're going to lose someone you love called yourself too, if you don't choose to stand in, how you want to relate inside of your marriage. And you can do it in a way that calls your partner up, that has them rise up. It's not like there's something wrong with you, partner, like get it together, otherwise this relationship's over. It's like, hey, I really want to step into the next level of loving with you. Like, you're the person I want to love, and I want to love even better and bigger and fuller and deeper. And you can acknowledge the places where you have your own shortcomings, because when we put our attention over there, like what's wrong with them and their shortcomings, it's not really received very well. But you can point to where you're doing the work, and invite them into doing that work with you. And then they have to reckon with that too. They get to be in the crucible. And if they refuse to be in the crucible, then they actually are refusing to be in the relationship, because this is the nature of the ecology of relationship. It's being in the refuge, safe sanctuary, and it's also being in the crucible of growth. So then you might not be in a relationship, even though it looks like you're in a relationship and you're still officially together or married or whatever, but then they're exiting relating. They're actually exiting the ecology of the relationship. And they'll have to come to terms with that. And, there's the further conversation of what you do with that, which was just not as much the point of today's conversation. But hopefully from, what you get from this is like, if I'm feeling disconnected and lack of passion, that's normal. And that means you're moving into the crucible of the relationship, and maybe for the first time ever. Some people go years without ever moving into the crucible. They avoid it, and they just want to stay in the refuge, but then they resent their partner, and then more disconnection and resentment results, and more compromising of who you are, and all these things that don't feel so good. But that's also there's nothing wrong in the relationship or with you or your partner. It's just time to be in the crucible. So that's good news. Time for growth. And it starts with you, because you're the one tuning in. And growth looks like, you taking a look at what you've been accommodating in yourself. Not just looking what you're accommodating in your partner, but, both places. Once you're able to freely bring this up to your partner, unattached to their response, that's when you bring it up. If you are attached to their response and can't stand the thought of them, of their, they might not respond to it very well. So if you are unable to be with their response, and if they don't have a great response when you bring this up, and you're unable to be with that, that's on you. So you bring this up when you are able to be okay with their response. If you say, this is what I'd like to invite you into, and they, the next level of the relationship, and they say no, can you be with that no without blaming them or collapsing and feeling like you're not lovable or loved, or that there's a possibility that the relationship will dissolve. In fact, you are asking for the relationship to dissolve and be recreated anew. And there's a possibility that they might not want to recreate anew with you. And that can be a painful death. And also, there's the rebirth of yourself because you held on to yourself. And that's essentially what I'm talking about, is this crucible is an opportunity for you to learn how to hold on to yourself in partnership. And then there's people who hold on to themselves so tightly that they can't actually, they don't have space or generosity for their partner. So this is a dance. I think some people don't even discover this for their whole lifetime in their whole partnership. But that's what I'm up to in my marriage, and it's really beautiful. It's really rich, to be able to be generous and create secure attachment and unconditional love, and also champion my partner and to receive that from him as well, right? Allowing him to champion me in those growing pains and facing myself, confronting things that they're pointing out that are true, that I don't want to look at. It takes some maturity, and also, receiving his unconditional love, which is really so sweet and so generous. But from a place of, not from codependence, but genuine generosity, which can only come from that solid connection to your own inner truth and your own inner feeling of wholeness, that you don't need your partner, but that you choose your partner and you want your partner and you love your partner. So, yeah, that's the ecology of marriage, and it only takes one person. So if you're tuning in and you are identify as being a personal development enthusiast, a spiritual seeker, someone who's deep, then I encourage you to consider stepping into the 4-month container called Lover that I facilitate. And it's an opportunity to go deep into both the crucible of your marriage, and only one person. It only takes one person. But also look at, where you can create more secure attachment, self-soothing, how to do a relationship masterfully and well and lovingly. And also learning about your arousal body, like how does your erotic arousal work, what turns you on. Polarity is a spectrum, so we can speak to it in binary principles, but also in fluid spectrum principles, and of what creates, sexual tension. And it doesn't have to be super polarized, although there usually needs some kind of push and pull to create attraction and erotic tension in some capacity, right? But you get to decide what that looks like for you and discover that for yourself and connect to your own sexual expression. Where do you feel inhibited with your sexual expression and your animal body? Because that's another huge part, is people can focus so much on the spiritual piece of their erotic connection that they lose touch with their animal eroticism. So it's a both and so we explore all of those things, all of those yummy things in our time together in these 4 months. So if you're interested, send me a direct message and let me know what's resonating for you about this and why you think the Lover Incubator would be supportive, what's showing up in your partnership right now, where do you want it to be, what's resonating for you. And it is deep work and it's a big commitment. And if you're feeling the yes, then message me and I will tell me about it so I can get a sense of what has you interested. And then if it feels like there's a yes on both parties, then I'll send you the application and we'll take the next step to see if we're a fit to work together. And we'll go from there. So it's a 4-month program. It's a mid 4-figure investment, and it's a big commitment of your energy and your time and your love. And I am happy to champion you as you step into the next level of your relationship and invite your partner into that, and all the beautiful things that will occur when you say yes to all of that. More intimacy and more passionate sex. And don't we all want that, right? All right, so thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.